She laughed at me that night, right in my face. It wasn't the kind of laugh you share when something's funny, it was the kind that cuts through your chest and leaves you bleeding inside. I stood there holding the phone that carried every truth I prayed I'd never see, messages, photos, and her name written beside another man's heart emoji. When I asked her why, she just smirked and said, "What will you do, divorce me?" Her voice was cold, sharp, and proud. I didn't answer. I didn't throw anything or yell. I just looked at her like a stranger I once knew. She thought my silence meant defeat. But that night, something inside me changed. I realized you don't destroy someone you love by shouting or fighting, you do it by walking away with your dignity. Still, I wasn't ready to walk away just yet. Because before I let her go, I needed her to see what she'd really done. To watch the truth unfold in front of her own eyes. And when I finally caught her, truly caught her, she didn't laugh anymore. If you've ever loved someone so much that you gave them everything, your heart, your trust, your peace, and they still broke you, then this story is for you. Because sometimes, the ones we'd die for are the same ones who teach us how to live without them. I want you to stay with me till the very end of this story. Don't skip a word. What you're about to hear isn't just about betrayal, it's about strength, revenge, and healing. It's about learning that silence can scream louder than anger, and that sometimes, walking away can shake a person more than any fight ever could. If you've ever felt pain, heartbreak, or disbelief in love, drop a red heart hash in the comments. If you've ever come out stronger after being broken, type "I survived." And if you believe love should never humiliate you, then make sure you like, share, and follow, because what happens next will leave you breathless. Now, let's go back to where it all started. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 34 years old, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I own a small auto repair shop on the south side of town. I'm not rich, but I've always believed in hard work, loyalty, and love. For most of my life, I thought I had everything I ever wanted, a woman who loved me, a home filled with laughter, and a future that looked bright. Her name was Tina. My wife. My best friend. My reason for waking up every morning. We met when we were just kids trying to survive in a world that didn't hand us anything for free. I fixed cars, she worked double shifts as a nurse. Together, we built our little world piece by piece, an apartment, a car, and then a small home that smelled of her favorite cinnamon candles. Tina wasn't just beautiful, she was fire, smart, driven, full of life. I used to tell her she had a smile that could light up a street. And she'd laugh, calling me dramatic. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was real. At least, I thought it was. Until the laughter that night changed everything I believed about love, loyalty, and forever. It was a rainy night in Atlanta, 12 years ago. I was driving home after a long shift at the garage when my old truck decided to give up halfway down a lonely road. My phone was dead, my stomach was empty, and my pride was too big to ask for help. Then I saw it, a small roadside diner, lights flickering, the smell of coffee and fried chicken sneaking through the storm. I ran in just to stay dry, shaking the rain off my jacket. That's when I saw her. Tina. She was behind the counter, wiping tables, humming to an old R&B song that played from the radio. Her hair was tied up, a few curls hanging down her face, and she had that kind of smile that could calm a storm. She looked up, and our eyes met for just a second, but something about that second stayed with me. She brought me a cup of coffee and asked, "Rough night?" I laughed. You could say that. My truck's as tired as I am. Without thinking twice, she offered me her umbrella and said, "Let me call my brother. He tows cars." That night, I didn't just get help, I found a reason to believe in kindness again. Before I left, I fixed the jukebox that had been broken for weeks. She smiled and said, "Guess I owe you a song." I didn't know it then, but that song would become the rhythm of our love, simple, steady, and unforgettable. After that night at the diner, I couldn't stop thinking about Tina. She wasn't like anyone I'd met before, kind, strong, and full of quiet fire. A week later, I went back, pretending I wanted another cup of coffee, but truth was, I just wanted to see her again. She laughed when she saw me walk in, shaking her head. Truck broke down again, she teased. Nah, I said, smiling. Just wanted to check if that jukebox was still working. That became our thing. Every Friday night, I'd stop by after work, and she'd save me a seat near the window. We'd talk about life, how hard it was, how good it could be, and what we dreamed of becoming. She wanted to be a nurse, I wanted to own my own repair shop. We didn't have much, but somehow, with her, it felt like we had enough. When she finally agreed to go on a date, it wasn't fancy. We sat in my old truck, shared fries, and watched the city lights. She leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "One day, we'll laugh about this, how broke we were." And she was right. Because we built everything from there together. We worked long hours, shared cheap meals, and pushed through every storm that life threw at us. The first time she said she loved me, we were sitting on a park bench watching fireworks. I didn't even have a ring then. I just looked at her and promised, "I'll make sure you never go to sleep feeling alone." 2 years later, I kept that promise. We got married in a small backyard with 20 people and borrowed decorations. She wore a simple white dress and sneakers, laughing when she tripped on the grass. Our love was real. It was built on sweat, laughter, and shared dreams. Every night, we'd sit on the porch, holding hands, talking about the future, kids, vacations, a bigger house. She was my peace. My home. My everything. At least, that's what I thought. It started slowly, so slowly I almost missed it. The woman who used to wait for me at the door, smiling like the world stopped when I came home, began spending more time on her phone. She said it was work. I believed her. Tina had become a registered nurse at a private clinic. I was proud, so proud that I bragged about her to everyone. But soon, pride turned to worry. She began dressing differently, coming home late, smelling like a perfume I didn't recognize. When I asked, she smiled and said, "Ethan, don't start acting insecure now." I laughed it off, at first. But laughter can't quiet a storm forever. She stopped calling me a babe. Our dinners became silent. Her phone was always face down. One night, I saw a message light up, "Can't wait to see you again." My hands trembled. My heart went cold. I wanted to confront her right there, but something in me froze. I didn't want it to be true. I told myself it was a mistake, someone else's number, maybe a joke. But lies have a smell. And I could feel them filling our house. That night, as she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, realizing the woman I once called home was slowly becoming a stranger I didn't recognize anymore. I couldn't pretend anymore. The evidence was there, messages, photos, dates, and a secret hotel booking. I had tried to ignore it, tried to convince myself it was a misunderstanding, but deep down I knew the truth. That night, I waited. Not to yell. Not to beg. I waited for her to come home. And when she did, I held the phone in my hand like it was a loaded gun. "Tina," I said, voice quiet but steady. She looked at me, her eyes wide, almost playful. "What is it?" I slid the phone across the table. She glanced at it, then laughed. That cold, sharp laugh I'll never forget. "What will you do, divorce me?" she said. I felt something inside me snap. Not rage. Not hatred. It was the hollow ache of betrayal, the knowledge that the woman I loved more than life itself had chosen someone else. But I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. I didn't beg her to stop laughing. I just looked at her, and in that silence, I let her see the truth of my pain. Then, I started planning, not revenge in anger, but revenge in clarity. Over the next few days, I set up a quiet trap. I didn't call her friends or family, I let her own choices reveal themselves. I watched carefully, waited for her to slip. And she did. One evening, I followed her to the hotel she had been sneaking away to. I didn't confront her there. Instead, I took photos, documented everything, and sent them anonymously to the clinic and her family. The next morning, she received messages she couldn't ignore. Her lies had been exposed. Her world started collapsing, and this time, no laughter. When I finally caught her looking at me with desperation in her eyes, I smiled quietly, not with joy, but with the calm power of someone who knew they still had control. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I walked away. Because sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't punishment, it's proving you can survive and thrive without the one who tried to destroy you. I left that night without saying a word. Not because I was weak, but because I was strong enough to know that silence could say more than any argument. The next few weeks were strange. Our home felt empty, and yet I didn't feel lost. I felt free. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I focused on my repair shop, working longer hours, learning new skills, and slowly growing my business. Every small success reminded me that I could survive and thrive without her. Tina tried to reach out. Calls, messages, even showing up at the shop. At first, I ignored her. I wanted her to feel the weight of the choices she made. Then, when I finally spoke, I was calm. Quiet. Unshakable. I forgive you, I said, but I can't go back. I'm done being hurt. Her face went pale. She opened her mouth, trying to say something, but no words came. Because she realized what I already knew, my heart was no longer hers to break. Months passed. I grew stronger. My business flourished, and friends noticed a new spark in me. I laughed more freely, slept more peacefully, and carried myself with a dignity that I hadn't felt in years. And Tina? She lost more than just my trust. Her affair was exposed at work, her relationship ended, and she began to understand that love isn't something you can manipulate or betray without consequences. I never celebrated her downfall, and I never gloated. My revenge wasn't cruelty, it was life. The life she tried to ruin. I walked away from her, not with anger, but with purpose. I had reclaimed myself. That's when I realized the truth about betrayal: it doesn't define you. How you respond does. And my response was simple: I chose me. Because surviving heartbreak with dignity is the loudest, most profound revenge there is. Looking back, I realized something important: love isn't about clinging to someone who betrays you. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone take your peace. I learned that betrayal hurts, but it doesn't have to destroy you. Pain can either chain you to the past or push you forward into a stronger, wiser version of yourself. I chose the latter. Sometimes, the loudest revenge isn't yelling, fighting, or exposing someone publicly. It's rebuilding your life, thriving, and showing through your actions that you didn't need them to survive. I also learned that forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. Forgiving Tina didn't mean I took her back, it meant I could finally release the anger and reclaim my heart. Love teaches many lessons, some sweet and some bitter. The bitter ones hurt like hell, but they also make you unshakable. So, if someone laughs at your pain, remember this: your life, your dignity, and your happiness are your real power. Hold on to them, and you'll discover that heartbreak is only a chapter, not the ending. What would you do if someone you loved laughed at your pain? Would you fight, beg, or walk away? Sometimes, the strongest answer isn't anger, it's peace, dignity, and building a life they can't touch. I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments, tell me if you've ever survived heartbreak, and let's talk about how love can hurt and teach us strength. If this story touched you, like, share, and follow for more real-life stories of love, betrayal, and the power of moving forward.